Hi, and welcome back to Douglas Fir Radio and Podcast. Today is February 21st, 2021. I am recording every Sunday with various like-minded people. Today's guest is the Deplorable Honey Badger. I met the Honey Badger last year during the lockdown, and when I would take off on my sailboat and come back in, I get all the updates on what was going on in the world. So I was isolated out in nature, and I'd come back and get some good updates from the Honey Badger. So he's sitting here with me off screen, and welcome Honey Badger to the show.
Well, thanks for inviting me. Pleasure.
Right on. We're just enjoying a couple of local brews, and cheers. It's been a pleasure to get to know you from all the good stuff going on. Let's have a toast here.
Mm-hmm.
Normally I don't drink, but I always say that and then I end up drinking. So yeah, let's talk about the state of the world right now. I guess I can first ask, what I really liked is when I would come back in and you would tell me what is how much more of the 2-week flatten the curve was going on and what was happening. And then I found out you followed Q. So maybe just we can talk about Q if you want to start with there. How did you come across Q and what does it mean to you? What is Q?
Well, just it was around late October, November 2017. I was just really getting into watching news on the internet, and because I had just gotten away from years before from cable and just getting away from TV and just knowing that I wasn't getting the truth. I was a Fox guy at first.
Yeah.
I'd get that off the internet a long time ago, and then because CNN would be on cable all the time, and then just realized CNN's really lying to me, and then I realized that the internet, I was just trying to get. I found I was getting the answers I was looking for.
Yeah.
At least the truth, like a sense of the truth, and I realized, yeah, I'm the guy they call the conspiracy theorist, and I've been like that way for a long time.
Yeah.
But just knowing that we weren't getting the right answers, and I didn't know what we know now because what Q has told us.
Right.
So when I was watching this, I come across a few of these YouTube channels. Patriot Soapbox was one that's still standing. Well, was still standing until the big takedown there.
He was on Twitter, or he or she?
On YouTube.
Okay, on YouTube, yeah.
And you'd be watching, and all of a sudden, because they were 24/7, and then all of a sudden say, Q post. And
Right.
it's just like, it gets you adrenaline rush. And that was the big neat thing at first. And you were in the inside, you were right in the grassroots kind of thing, and just following along. I never contributed. I just always just, I was just, he talked about when you're doing Q, don't get on the board, guys. Don't do this, because just lurk.
Right.
Do it for like 2 years and then maybe consider about doing anything, but just don't do that. So I just abided and I just watched, because I was just the things that were coming out of these Q posts were just like, wow. And we've never seen anything like this before. And can this be true? And it's just got into all kinds of interesting insights that I never realized before, like talking about how the world works, how Saudi Arabia is hooked in there, and Russia and China and the US, and the inside information that we've never seen, and these just amazing how information I've never had before.
Right.
And kind of said, maybe this could be the truth.
Yeah.
Broaching subjects like even alien life a little bit there.
Yeah.
Like there was some question and answer periods on there, like, does alien life exist? Is the earth flat? All those questions like that.
Right.
And Q would answer them and give answers, but I still don't know for sure.
And,
like he said, information is.
And you say who do you think Q is? Is Q one person, several people? You think it's the military? Is it, and how long do you think it's been around for that you can come up with an idea?
As of to date, what I can ascertain from what other contributors to the these internet channels
Yeah.
through YouTube and everything. What I can ascertain is, what I personally believe is that it is military intelligence associated with Donald Trump. And it's a backdoor avenue for the people to have access to information that has never occurred before in the history of the world.
Right.
I understand back channels are commonplace for even governments that are official enemies, but they still have back channels to talk to the leaders of the enemy.
Right.
But this was the first time, I think, in history where, as far as I understand, is where the people, not just we the people of the United States, but Q has also been inclusive to that. This includes everyone around the world, and would post accordingly, like from places around the world, and post where we go one, we go all. And the chants from whether it's South Africa, Germany, Hong Kong.
Well, there's got to be 1,000 different networks around there. So, I mean, they must be giving you some truth, right? Can we not go to any news agencies anymore and find any truth on these?
Well, Trump really nailed it down for the first time, and it confirmed what I and a lot of people, I imagine, have suspected, that we're getting a narrative.
Yeah.
And the narrative is not for ourselves. It is for those that control the media, the bankers, the big bankers, the people behind the nation states that actually are, bloodlines,
right?
Old money. And Trump, when he quoted and said to them when he first came into his presidency, says, "You're fake news."
Right.
And that's
which I think Hillary kind of tried to start once the Pizzagate came out. Then they were trying to say, "Oh, well, this is just fake news" and stuff like that. So it was happening kind of then already. But then he turned it around and said, "No, actually, if there is a fake news,
as far as I know, he coined the term fake news."
Yeah.
But anybody can do the research and look at the genesis of the term fake news.
Right.
But once he did that, then that caught a lot of people's attention, if not already. Then that did it. And so there may be bits of truth in the news, but it's not the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
Like for myself, I'm always the type of guy that always had questions for whatever I think, and I had no shame.
Good.
And I still have no shame in asking questions that I don't understand, even though some people still tell me that's a stupid question.
Yeah.
But I don't give a shit.
There's no such thing. I was always taught, right?
Yeah. And that's the way I believe too. And it's for every generation to ask those same questions.
Good. Yeah.
Because if we were just keep on going along the way we have been, being spoon-fed disinformation, this is the way it is, and this is the history of the earth, and just accept it. No, sorry.
Yeah.
My natural inclination is to ask questions.
Yeah.
I think that's innate in all human beings. If it isn't, I think there's something wrong there, or at least with their environment that they grew up in, that a certain percentage of people will feel shame. But for us, quote unquote, conspiracy theorists, I like to say analysts now. I'm a conspiracy analyst.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the theories have come factual. So, and I was being a little facetious on the fact that there's thousands of news agencies and stuff, because really it comes down to 6 families and 6 major corporations. That umbrella,
like 5 or 6.
Now umbrella's down, and they all have their fingers all the way.
Disney being one of the big ones.
Yeah, and so, and I guess that's a part of Operation Mockingbird, is it not? So they all say the same narrative. I like how they do the compilations. Now you can see them. So the people that think that they get their information from the news, they think they're getting real journalism, but now it's really all consolidated from the top. They're all saying the same thing, and now they're editing the videos where you can hear every news agency saying the same exact thing, right? Have you seen those videos?
Oh yeah.
It's like, and this is
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
The exact same word. So
multiply by 2, by 4, by 16, by 32. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is how I think it's should wake up some people, set off the alarm clock to wake them up when they see that. But how many people actually know? I mean, and I've always wondered why CNN is the television show at the airports, all airports, always CNN, because they're just constantly bombarding you with that mainstream, and
I think the airports actually get paid for.
okay, yeah,
right. I think that's kind of contractual. Even in Canada, you see that in Vancouver Airport.
Right, Communist News Network, right? Is that what CNN?
Clinton News Network.
Clinton News Networks, yeah. And I started to get all excited about Max News too, and then find out they received a lot of money from Hillary Clinton, and then they seem to be kind of like, I don't pay attention to them anymore. And I was only getting it online. I haven't watched TV in a long time either. I can't even stand the sounds of news.
Yeah, it's important for me just to, because I do get enough information through the internet, people that are keeping tabs on what is going on.
Yeah.
Of the network news through cable. So yeah, I have family that watches CNN, and and man, that's where they get their truth from.
Right, and that was going to be one of my questions. Is that first of all, Q, it kind of gives you some hope in what's going on, I feel like, right? And then one of the questions was, during this time, have you gotten closer to any family members or friends, or is it kind of tearing you apart from people because people's beliefs seem to be getting further and further apart? Like there's a real division right now in Canada and the United States, and I know that that's one of the ways that they conquer, right? Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
How's it working for you and your family and friends?
With family and friends, definitely have to be careful, and when you start to share Q, I find it's not necessarily say Q says this or Q says that, but just asking the questions where Q asks the same questions to us. Just repeat those same questions.
Right.
Just do the Socratic method, asking questions. And that's enough, I think, to do. It's the whole idea, Q. It's to get people to question the narrative that has existed forever. And here's the opportunity now to say that. So I find it does stress my relationships when I start quoting Q, and just I gotta watch myself. I gotta be careful. We have a lot of information here, and we believe it to be true. And I do contend that we still have to get the evidence. Actually, still have to see all these things that Q's talked about, the arrests of all these high-profile people and the big arrest, the first will sort of set that
one's going to shock the world.
That's going to shock the world, and we haven't seen that yet.
No, we haven't seen the big one. However, there's been a lot of information, and I read this on the Q stuff, as I listened to people like the X22 report, and we know, and they're really good at keeping us up to date on a lot of the arrests that are actually happening. So Q said something about look for the senators and congressmen and politicians that are going to be stepping down and no longer seeking a return.
And that has been confirmed.
Right. So a lot of these things.
Every day.
Yeah. And
their CEOs.
Lots, right? CEOs, even that was what I found interesting. And I wanted to look into more of that was before the lockdown. So January of 2020, weren't there over 100 top CEOs that were stepping down before the lockdown?
Oh, and yeah, since Q started talking about that CEOs would be stepping down. Yeah. Eric Schmidt of Alphabet, owner of Google, was amongst the biggest one of them all.
Was that last year?
That was a couple of years ago.
Okay, so now in the last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot more musicians, people dying. So they talk about the suicide weekend because
41 years old, 52 years old.
Seems a bit suspicious, right? And so a lot of step down. So they're really not coming out and saying what the real reason why they're stepping down or what their death is. And that's on the keyboard, right? They talk about that kind of stuff.
So I think, when you can point to something like in regards to your question of how it has affected families, when you can point to factual news articles that are you can just point them to that, whether they'll look at them or not, but at least there is those. So it's important to just not give people too much information, because you and I both have been at this a lifetime, and we've been confident, I guess, in our situation where we've always felt comfortable asking questions, and no matter what people's response would be.
Yeah.
Because we just want to know. I think that's where the best place to live as a human being is just
Right.
to,
Do you think they took that away from a lot of people, somehow encourage us not to think critically? Like, do you think
Yes.
that was
Oh,
kind
absolutely.
of part of indoctrination in our
Look
schools?
at classically the killing of President Kennedy. That was the quintessential example of the conspiracy
Right.
theory. That's where the pejorative term conspiracy theorist came from. So
Right.
if you were one of those people that are
Sure.
asking too many
Yeah.
questions, you either got killed or you were delegitimized in the eyes of the public by being a conspiracy. Oh, there was only one shooter. We only know there was one shooter.
Right.
And it's played out over time where it's common knowledge now, and the evidence exists that not only did a bullet come from the back of it, there's also a bullet that came through the windshield. So
Yeah.
obviously Lee Harvey Oswald was not, and he wasn't even up in the top of that
Right.
library in Dallas that day.
Is the
There's
past.
pictures of him in the lower part standing there in that library there. So I've seen
Yeah.
all that and looked at it. It's there for anybody to know. And the number of people that were killed in after the fact, that were witnesses, that were investigative reporters. And so not only were people afraid of dying, right, but at least you didn't want to, if you're one of those people that are not comfortable with asking questions, and consider your moral, your social status, and that's at stake. I'm not concerned about more social status. So
I think I have it written down. I wish I could remember it or pull it up without too much delay, but it had something to do with, it doesn't matter that some truth has come to surface and the lies have been exposed. As long as people continue to believe it, it still kind of exists in the mindset of many people that it doesn't really matter. It's still like, so if the majority of people think that there was just one shooter, it doesn't matter. It's like it's carried on into the future to where we are now, that it's almost like they just still accept it as truth, even though it's already been debunked. It's already been proven that there was more than one shooter, that the CIA was involved and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's an interesting thing on.
Yeah, if you ask people that were kids in that day, that was in November 22nd, I think it was, in 1963.
Yeah,
and everybody remembers where they were.
Yeah.
I remember myself when Kennedy was shot, and I think it's just another one of those things. I was in the high school library.
Brother or the
President
Robert?
Reagan.
Oh, Reagan.
Shot.
Yeah.
And I was just in Vegas before that shooting.
Okay.
And I actually heard, I was at a Hooters bar, and this girl named Shonda, and she was talking about how all these people were in this location, which is way different location from the Bellagio and the place where they were, the shootings went on.
Oh yeah.
And so I was actually listening to her, and it's just like, it just made no sense. And I think that's what, just before Q came out, that happened. And then Q came out just after that. But so I had an interesting, unique experience in life, just to have that, somebody that was talking about how, there was these people in the street, people inside Hooters that were bleeding and dead.
Oh, so you're talking about the shooting later, which is
the 2017 shooting.
Yeah, 3 years ago or something like that. Yeah.
That was about in 2017 in the springtime, I think.
Yeah.
And there was that festival there, and
right,
50 or more people were killed, and people again were shot, just like the Kennedy thing. There's witnesses to the fact. Yeah. And so that was a big cover. And just that sort of precipitated when and why Q came about. I think because that was that enough's enough. Yeah. That was sort of the
from some of the information I've been researching, looking into, that Q may have been around actually during JFK's. It was kind of that, like you're saying, that backdoor, the information that gets to other people without other intelligence getting involved, the way to communicate. But then JFK was, he was surrounded by the deep state and he didn't know. And now this time around, we're kind of finding out.
They protected the president this time around because they've learned from their mistakes.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. And if you're dealing with, if what we're dealing with is so evil, and they've been around for so long, bloodlines, generations, hundreds, if not thousands, of years as the ruling class. Yeah, I think that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I downloaded Juano Savin's book, The Kid by the Side of the Road, and he talks about how it is all related to the JFK assassination and how we're all the kid by the side of the road because we sat there and watched all this stuff take place, you know. And I think I might actually set up and just start reading that, and then set it by
Ronald
chapters.
Salvin, was he there?
You know, this is Juano Savin. That's his pseudonym. So Juano Savin's not his real name. Was he where like
On the side of the road of watching Kennedy being shot?
well, I think basically we all have been there, like witnessing
Traumatized.
it. Yeah, and witnessed.
We've all watched the replays of it.
and have seen everything taking place.
It's traumatizing
yeah.
to watch. I don't like watching it.
No, it's not good at all.
I can't watch
Yeah.
it.
So a lot of what's going on right now is a culmination of the plan to take on the deep state, because back then they didn't really know who's on what side because they're so deceptive, right? And then that helps kind of prove that there is some ominous feeling, like some demonic kind of energy behind that deep state. Is there not? You know, it's like
it's just there is a spiritual element to all this. I think it becomes like whether you're a Christian or religious or not. I think when you see evil in your life, I think you become you realize your spiritual elements to reality.
Yeah.
And I personally believe that reality is both physical and spiritual, and they're you can't separate them.
Right, intermingling.
It's reality.
Yeah, I was going to ask you so when you started researching, you're getting Q, and then they talk about how many times mathematically is it possible before it would be impossible for this stuff to be legit. Is that how?
Oh yes. Well, when they try to delegitimize Q as a conspiracy, that it's not linked to Trump's tweets. You look at it, it's just mathematically impossible. I like math. I enjoy math. It's simple to me.
That's why you should
ones and zeros. It's easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And the numbers don't lie. So when probabilities of occurrences approach near zero to the power of minus 20, then you're close to zero. And then chance of this being a conspiracy theory. That so timing of tweets,
right?
Dumb multiples of times.
They call them the deltas or something.
Ask him to say something at a certain time,
and he'll say it.
Yeah.
And then, well, if we want to give it all away, but
tippity top. That's the word.
Yeah. Make him say tippity top or something.
Yeah, you did it.
And then
it's awesome.
4, 12, 20 or something like that.
You want some of these?
I'm good at the moment. I'm gonna sip the beer and not chew on camera. I was gonna ask, like, so when you look into the truth, how do you discern whether you're getting the truth or not? Like, is there a way for you to discern what is it a feeling that you get, or trusting the source after a certain time?
Yeah, for me is learning to trust your gut.
Yeah.
Encourage others to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as you get older, I think we can all agree that there's certain things where you realize, oh, man, I should have just listened to myself at that point.
Yeah.
And trust your gut, trust your feelings. It's a combination, again, of you putting your feelings together, the physical, and what's going on, that intuition, that spiritual aspect.
Yeah.
And you put those things together, and you're just coming from a pure heart, you just want to know the truth. And I think that's the element of reality. Truth is an element of reality. And if you want to know the truth, you can know the truth. There is an absolute truth out there, contrary to what this post-secular world has taught us and is trying to purport a certain narrative. That truth is subjective, and it's your truth is your truth and my truth is my truth. There is some aspects of truth to that.
Yeah.
But as far as just objective truth, there is objective truths out there to know.
Yeah.
and we all know what's right and wrong.
Yeah. Again, it's another thing that's probably been taken from us as far as trusting our own intuition. Women seem to be more tuned in to their intuition, I guess, to that feminine energy, but it doesn't mean that men can't have it. I think it's a muscle that we need to try to reestablish and learn. And I that's what I believe too, is that when you ask to be shown the truth and you decide you're going to speak the truth and you're not going to be afraid to speak the truth, no matter what kind of backlash you're going to get, I feel like you're now tuned into the energy in which you can tune into more truth. You're subject to more truth. More truth is going to come to you, and it's the feeling.
Yes,
like
exactly.
From what I heard too is I started studying and paying attention to people that talk about the heart-centered math and stuff, and so that they can basically record and they can see and feel the energy that is being projected from your heart. And so your heart and your intuition and your down here, it actually sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to down here where your intuition is supposed to be driven and stuff like that. So what I'm finding is that our brain is actually more heart-centered than our brain up here. So more information goes from this area, more energy is sent to your head than your head is being sent this way. So it's like, yeah, let's trust our intuition more. And that is the key, I believe, to that higher self that a lot of people aren't tuned into right now. And this is where I kind of want to go with the next bit, is the spirituality aside. Do you feel like we're in a spiritual war right now, as well as maybe a cyber war with other countries and being attacked in that realm?
Yeah, like we're talking about, what is the truth right now? What is this that we're going through? I know my feeling, and I know a lot of other people I talk to about going through this pandemic now, and the weirdness of it all, and the things that we're being asked to do and forfeit our freedoms. This doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
that's not the truth.
Yeah.
So applying that, that's what it is there.
Do you believe in the Great Awakening?
Yes.
Do you believe that we're on the precipice of that? Are we there right now?
As Q has talked about, and I think it's more than that. If you're into whatever, like I said, if you're not into religion and you're not Christian or from another faith, I see that there's an intersectionality of quantum understanding. You might call it vibrational density, certain densities of third dimensional, fourth dimensional, fifth dimensional. The ability, understanding more about our spiritual aspect and what it is, like you said, to know the truth. You have to live in the truth. It's the same thing in other faiths, and I know from Christianity, it talks about that. Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." And so there's that way of living, and you just follow that example of what it is to be truthful and to be honest.
Yeah.
Because isn't that the problem of what we're living in?
Yeah.
The deceptiveness, and that is the nature of, like, again, if you're from a Christian perspective, you understand that that's the battle that we've always been in.
Right.
And there is this battle ultimately in reality in the spiritual realm. I even hear people talking right now, what are these things we're seeing in the sky? What are these signs that we're seeing?
Right.
These correspond to the exact orientations of planets and the sun and the moon, according to what Revelation is talking about. This has just occurred in 2017, I believe. And so when you look at the stars, they're telling us. You look at nature, it's telling you that there's something going on.
Yeah.
It's in our being. So like I said, people are waking up they're not religious, but they're waking up because they just want to know the truth. And I think that's where it's all comes down to, is just to be a believer of truth. And whatever it is that Jesus says, it'll lead you that way. He said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." So for me, I personally believe that. But I see other people are on the same path. And I say, "Hey, how'd you get here?" And so that is awesome to me. Or it's, like we've talked about, it's an awakening of their own faith, their life experience, what their parents have taught them.
Yeah.
And we know what is right and wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So yes, there is from that, I think, yeah, wanting to know what the truth is. And you look at somebody, you can look at a situation, you can watch the lies that are coming out of the whoever is saying them,
yeah,
and the way they're talking to you. When you get into that fifth dimensions, you will know
exactly.
You will recognize the truth.
Yeah, right on. I totally agree. We wear our emotions and our life on our physical being. You can look at somebody and see that they've lived a very healthy, happy life, and it's all based on their thoughts, their predominant thoughts. And I learned that a couple of years ago. You know, it's your consistent thoughts that really become you, right? So I learned to negate any negative thought that kept trying to enter in, like anything that I was resentful about. I could learn to be like, oh, I can shut that down. The sooner I shut it down and get it out of my brain and start getting more positive thoughts versus the negative ones, and I can outnumber those, well, my life became better and better. Like I can see, so I started attracting more truth and that kind of stuff. And then I learned that you can look at somebody and everything is right there, all their thoughts, you can see it in their skin and their facial expressions and stuff like that. And that's how you get drawn to the truth and drawn to people. And I find that pretty fascinating, because it is that energy that you're putting out there. And don't they try to teach us that communication, a lot of it is nonverbal, right? We
90%
nonverbal. So
yes.
Our subconscious is picking up a lot of that stuff and then telling us. And so this is what we need to become aware of on who we speak to, and trust your intuition, look for those signs. And I think that's key. And right now, I think it's really important.
And that's a joy to know that you can know the truth. We don't have to be deceived anymore, because this is what the war is. It's a war of deception. The Bible talks about the great deception in the end times.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're at.
Well, everything's backwards right now, upside down, isn't it? And then they talk about that. Everything will be right, will be wrong, left will be right, boy will be girl.
And that's confusing. And I'm grateful that I am the age that I am now, where at least we have a base of growing up and being taught what was right and wrong, because that's all being turned upside down now for these young people. And that's a hard way to go. But again, I'm still hopeful for them and for the elderly and for us that we are set up for, like what Q says, that nothing can stop what is coming.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because things have to change. If they didn't and they kept on going the way we are, it's self-destructive. We cannot go on. Our birth rates aren't good enough anyways for what we're doing. And just the self-destructive behavior, if it's not stops, put to all this craziness and the hardships that are put on families, the taxation that is being put on, the pandemic and what that's done, shut down how many percentage of businesses across the world, for those anyways that aren't able to stand up against their governments, their local governments, their state and federal governments. We have to, we end up put in jail if we're gonna persist in some cases.
Nothing can stop what is coming. What does that mean to you? What is happening? The arrest, the over 200,000 sealed indictments, do you feel like they're taking place? With the lower arrests, that the ones that we're not really aware of, that's taking place. And then when Trump says the best is yet to come, is that a part of what's happening too? And where do you see it, like where we are in relation to that? Is that something that sounds like it's coming soon? How do you feel about that?
Well, patience is a virtue. and this is whole process. Like I thought when the election happened in 2020, that Trump was going to win. Q said that the election was safe, and then we find out that Biden's in there now. So, and there was their fraud. I guess maybe that's a big sting. I don't know. It's thrown everybody for a loop, but at the same time,
with the amount of technology they have, don't you think that they've got all?
They can know the truth. You can know the truth.
Yes, they must know it.
With the technology, you can know the truth.
They know everything, right?
They do.
I think no such agency stands for the NSA, because I keep seeing that no such agency. I think it's NSA, but also means that even if they were using it against the people to breach or to impose on our privacy and stuff like that, I think they can still use it against anything that was going on in the election. So that could be a part of what it was, the sting operation there.
Yeah, nothing can stop what is coming. Linwood, the lawyer for one of the lawyers dealing with the fraud of the 2020 US federal election.
Yeah.
He is taking a couple of state elections to court, the results of it. And he said from going to the Supreme Court, if we would know within a day or two where the individuals of the Supreme Court stand, where they're on the side of the truth, or on the side of the deep state, that we would know in due time. And I think we should have known by now.
I think we should have known too when they didn't accept looking at it. They don't even want to look at any of the materials and the depositions.
So maybe let's give them an ultimatum until tomorrow.
Yeah, because I think next week is tomorrow, and the following week, from what I hear, is where we're going to hear a lot of things.
At least let's get a headline in there to say, considering that the state, Pennsylvania, the fraud, we are considering that this was a fraudulent election in the state of Pennsylvania.
Well, you'd think they'd want to at least say, well, instead of there's no fraud, let's make them prove, make us prove that there's no fraud, or that there's fraud. They just didn't even want to hear it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Yeah. People said, well, this has been tried through the courts. And I go, no, it hasn't. No, because they never even entertained it. They didn't want to open that can of worms.
Yeah. It's hard to talk to people when they're like, no, they said no. It's like,
so on the other side of it, so if we're told to be patient, like what is happening then? If the plan is still unfolding, what is actually happening there if the Patriots are in control? Maybe, we have to be patient. When you do a sting, you want to let your enemy believe that they've won, or they've killed you, or they've defeated you. And when they now are comfortable and now they're acting freely without fear, they will continue to operate like they always have and reveal the crimes as they're doing them in real time, on video, on audio, for the whole world to see, because the world is watching.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
This wasn't one of the questions, but when we're talking about this and they talk about us watching a show, what do you think of the possibility of Joe Biden, the one we see, actually not being the real Joe Biden? Have you seen any of the type of?
His ears are the dead giveaway there,
and his face and stuff like that.
So bizarre.
The face, it looks quite different. So it's pretty fascinating, right? I mean, we know that Hollywood has a lot of technology. You got the deep fake stuff going on. It's like, so do you think the real Joe Biden is already 6 feet under, down in Guantanamo? He's already faced his charges and stuff against?
It's possible. And certainly he is a puppet of the deep state. So whoever that is, and whatever the image, it's interesting, the image, isn't it?
Yeah.
The image of the beast, what Revelation talks about. I'll get back to that later maybe, but it's the images that we are seeing, like who was it that said, Nixon, I think it was said that if people saw it on TV, see it on TV, they will believe it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it could be CGI. I even saw a hologram machine the other day where a guy gets out in front of a canvas and a camera, a white background. And at the same time he does that, they have this cubicle in the background that he actually appears in that as well.
Wow.
And it's just the same guy, the same density, the same shadowing.
Right.
And you can be projected anywhere in the world now. They've been using this with Hollywood people now.
Right.
So it's Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah, they control that.
They were showing that during like football kind of halftime things, I think, with the musicians a long time ago. So
I even saw a few months ago of the Pope appearing from a certain angle when you look at him head on, and then from another angle it disappears.
Right.
That holograph image, it doesn't have the integrity And it's so granular, I
Yeah.
guess, in that sense that you can only look at it from the front, otherwise
Certain
it disappears.
angles.
Yeah.
I think they were mentioning even during the inauguration, a couple people disappeared on camera.
Oh, right, yeah.
And
That's
I
right.
didn't see that one, but I'd heard about that.
Yeah, the
happening.
people in the background of
Yeah.
Joe Biden and Joe Biden there when they were doing the Bible there and swearing
Right.
on the Bible, or however they were doing it.
Yeah, that is
Not
interesting.
swearing on the
Eh?
Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. So what's playing out right now? We got the apocalypse, and we talked about that. What about the current situation in Canada? How do you feel about Trudeau? I know it's hard to talk about Trump in this day and age with everybody hating on him because they follow the mainstream media. They have no idea. Like, I know what it's like when I say the guy's a genius, people roll their eyes and they think I'm crazy. What's the situation in Canada with Trudeau? How do you feel about that?
I find it's harder to know things about Canada. For one thing, for me, I spent so much time watching American politics because I think it's being revealed for us to know for the time that we're in. That's where the information is available, coming through Q. That was the first time we've had this amount of information, and he has referenced to about Trudeau.
Yeah.
In the sense when I think it was question period, one of the 2 question periods that Q had given, when people asked, "What about Trudeau in Canada?" And I think the response was something like something in the association of those the 2 pharmacists couple killed in Toronto.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of
There's an
controversy
association.
right
The
now.
Clintons are involved that, and
Yeah.
and he may mention, and then
Was he teaching at the school where that family child
Honey and
went
Mary
to?
Sherman.
And was he teaching at the school where the kids went to?
No, I don't know anything.
About that
I'm
one.
not saying that.
Okay.
Saying that's what it is. No, I don't think that's it at all. I think what it is that there is a connection there. Incidentally, they were actually about to introduce a drug through their company, hydroxychloroquine.
Oh, right. Okay, makes sense.
Wouldn't that have been awesome to have before this pandemic?
Yeah, well, we know that hydroxychloroquine was definitely quashed during a lot of this, even though
I would have put it past Trudeau to help quash that and control that information.
Yeah.
Because just for your audience to understand that if you research this now, hydroxychloroquine in combination with zinc and zithromycin, that combination will prevent people from getting pneumonia related to that. How the hydroxychloroquine helps oxygen get into your cells through with the zinc as an assist. And so that is in the journals now. I think even one of the platforms had to apologize for that falsehood that they put out there that Trump was not saying what he was getting misinformation.
It's funny how a lot of the retractions will take place, but then they're hidden, on
they're not the headlines.
3. No, they're not the headline. I think it was the Lancet report that had to retract something because they said that it was scarring your heart, and then you had the most leading heart surgeon come out and say no. And then even in 2005, Fauci had written a report saying that it was safe and effective. And then when they went to go do these tests, they were given 4 times the amount of hydroxychloroquine, which was having a bad result, which now it's okay again, now that Biden is in fake power.
And about Trudeau again, also in what Q had got on about, with at least relation to Canada, not necessarily Trudeau, but about the
Dominion servers.
That was more recently, but back then I think what he was referring to was uranium.
That maybe got sent to Russia?
Yeah, that was bought for Russia through Canada.
Okay.
And maybe even when you did further research, there was even talking about trucking companies moving uranium from US to Canada to be sold to Russia, and then later on blaming Russia for, but they can track all that through the specific productions of whatever timelines that these uranium is produced, where it came from, who and what made it. So Trudeau, again, I don't like to say we got a lot of information out there that's has to be confirmed. So I personally don't like Trudeau. I think he talks down to people. I've known people that have talked to me that have talked to him directly, and
Yeah.
that has been a couple of people I know that talk to him personally.
Yeah.
So I'll just go with that
Oh, yeah,
and
right
just
on.
say, yeah, he's and
Well, didn't he run on the platform of being like, we need transparency when he was going up against Harper? And then what is he now? Now he doesn't answer questions. He just keeps deflecting about the WE scandal. He deflects. He doesn't answer questions. He's missing. He was missing for months.
Oh, down in Colombia?
Well, just he was
South America somewhere?
well, during all this pandemic stuff, you know, like at least Trump, you always knew where he was. He was always in the public eye. And it's like, it was trending on Twitter. Where's Trudeau right now? Where's Trudeau? Where's Trudeau? So,
Yeah.
he's not.
So
he's not. Doesn't seem to be.
He's another puppet. I don't think.
He loves China.
I think he was born and raised, and he's been taught that he's special and part of the monarchy or the France connection there. I don't know.
And his father was the Prime Minister of Canada back in the 70s. And but then there's also some speculation that his real father might not be Pierre. Have you heard that?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I personally believe it's Fidel Castro.
Fidel Castro.
You line up the pictures,
Yeah.
do your searches online. Everybody do your research.
Yeah.
And I think I'm pretty good at judging people's offspring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know a face when you see it. So it's
Yeah.
and you see the pictures of Margaret
Yeah.
and Fidel Castro together with Justin as a toddler.
So it would be fitting if he went back to his home country, but maybe just spent the rest of his life in one of those little cells in Guantanamo Bay.
Yeah, well,
do you think that that's possible? Because I've heard some stories from Robert David Steele. Have you listened to him at all? He says that they have him on record doing some pretty horrendous things.
Yeah, okay.
Crimes against humanity.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't know what that is. So I like to follow the principle of everybody has the right to be considered innocent until proven guilty.
But the Canadian government doesn't believe that right now.
No,
for you as a citizen.
But I think we have to uphold that principle.
Yeah,
and because that is the truth. And I think
I
that's
agree.
what we all should be benefactors of as a Canadian citizen. That we should have that right, because I've seen too many rights being willingly given away because people are so fearful of the situation that is at hand with the pandemic. People will give up their rights. I've seen it in history, haven't we? We've seen it in history where people give up rights when they're so fearful. Yeah. When the government tells us, "Oh, this is the enemy. This is something to be feared. Let us help." They're the ones that created the freaking problem, or at least somebody else created the problem. The government is being told what to do, and somebody else has a solution. And there's a lot of money to be made. Yeah, interesting.
A lot of money to be made. Yeah, that's all. Eh?
Follow up. Just case in point, the pandemic. Look who's making all the money.
A lot of billionaires are increasing by 20% or something like that.
Yeah, look at small businesses being eroded, but the big corporations just another. It's just another huge offshoring of jobs. Yeah, in the sense that corporations are swallowing up the business of small business.
I always find it funny that these governments want to spend and send so much money overseas to other countries, yet its own people are, maybe they've never had a lot of hardships, but they're definitely starting to see those now. But they don't get these handouts that are going overseas, and you don't really get to see what's happening. So if you send, I think there was billions that went to Africa somewhere, how do you see the benefit? Well, where is it going and stuff? Do you think it's probably
well, it's a shell game, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's all it is. It's just a shell game, just on a bigger scale. Yeah, and that's the reason why. Somebody's going to make a lot of money, and the money gets sent out to foreign nations, comes back to these senators, these governors, or our prime ministers or ministers, other government officials. So when we do foreign aid, that money is just being
So we're seeing that
they say it's done. 90% of all that stuff is taken up in administration, but it's going to these people that were never millionaires to start with when they went into office, then become millionaires to the tune of tens or hundreds of millions.
Where are they getting that money? And don't you find it fascinating that President Trump gave away all his money that he's supposed to get as the president? He gives that back to charity, and then actually is one of the first presidents to have lost money since his presidency, because now you've got banks that don't want to carry his money anymore. And
Watch,
so,
watch the video, YouTube video. This video will help Trump the election in 2016. Watch that video, look for it, try to find it.
okay, what's it called again then?
The video that won
Okay.
Donald Trump the election.
Okay.
And it goes through exactly how the deep state is involved, how they don't have our interests at heart. Everything the banks do, it's for them, it's not for us.
Yeah.
And Trump's job is saying like they don't have your best interests at heart.
Yeah.
But it's all just to do things for themselves. And he says, the reason why I've done this is I felt so strongly that what this country has done for me, I just want to give back.
Yeah.
And when I listen to the vibe of that, I believe him.
Yeah, I do too. I feel it.
And again, I saw what he did, and he
fulfilled.
He delivered on his promises. You've never
actually
seen a politician.
I had this conversation with somebody. I said, promises made, promises kept. He's one of the only politicians, and the guy just blew up on me. What do you mean? He's the first and only guy. It's like, well, really, when it comes down to it, I mean, look at Biden right now. He's going against everything. He flip-flops. Never before have I seen anybody hold on to, fulfill their promises. One of the biggest things I had always hoped for was the Federal Reserve I felt like was our biggest problem. That was the first thing we need to tackle, because those are the families, and whoever prints the money, basically they run the government, So when I found out that he took control of the Federal Reserve and he brought it into the Treasury Department of the United States, and he's in control of that, it's like, okay, this guy's actually doing some good stuff. And then I started getting on board with.
That's what got Kennedy killed.
Yeah,
he was able to finally complete that.
Well, then it's happened 3 times apparently, because their system too is only meant to last 60 or 70 years or something like that before the whole because there's a debt
system that's
going to collapse, because it's
a debt system,
a debt-based system,
and it will implode. It can't sustain.
And we're right at that precipice right now.
And the only cure for that, or how they hide it from us, that's the reality of what it is, the system that it is. They hide it from us by starting wars, or recessions. So every 10 years, 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, you have these cycles of these wars. And what it does, you have your RSPs, your IRA in the States, you have these investments, and you always see a reset. So you lose by half or whatever, and you don't have that inside knowledge that these other government officials do, these big business people do, to take your money out and buy accordingly at low, or sell high, buy low. We don't have that inside information. At least what these guys do. In some cases, it's legal for them to do that.
Yeah. And it seems like that's where we are right now, because they're going to take advantage of the situation with the pandemic, is to try to create the Great Reset.
The Great Reset.
But it sounds like Trump and a lot of other patriots have something else in mind, the Sarah Jacera, which I would recommend most people start to research and look into. And that's what gives me hope. I feel like we're starting to realize our power in numbers, and you can't beat us on the internet, because look at the Wall Street bets and the GameStop, and now they're trying to squeeze silver, which has been suppressed for so long, because the silver user,
I know, it's even inspired me to buy some silver just recently. And I kick myself for not buying.
It's fine. It's still at a low price.
Bitcoin when it was like $9,000.
This is another episode. We can talk more about this as we get more into it, but I got into it in January, and I don't want to sit there and kick myself that it didn't happen a couple of years ago, which I tried, but Canada wasn't set up for it yet. I'm just grateful that I have money in it now, because this is one way we can take down the central banks, because we're taking away their power. We're taking that money, which is their bill of exchange, their debt, because all it is a representation of debt. You take it out and you put it into something that's actually increasing in value. Well, if they keep printing money for all this stuff, well, the value of that dollar is going down. Everybody's waking up to it right now. So Bitcoin currently, this is today in Canada, is at $75,000. Just 2 months ago, it was at
38.
Canadian. Yeah. But I would also suggest, so there's Ethereum, which is the second largest.
You're not giving me financial advice, are you?
I might be.
I know.
I give myself.
I see what people do.
They're constantly.
Just say, it's not a financial advice. This is personally what I've done.
I'm giving myself advice, but I just think
always do your research, people.
It is amazing. So Ethereum is tracking the same graph that that Bitcoin did. It's just 2 years behind, but it's following the same graph going up. So, but I have some in Bitcoin, I have some in Ethereum, and I mess around with some other altcoins. But I feel like those two are your best place to start. Doesn't matter at what level you get in. I feel like once you have something in there, one, you're going to take value and power away from the deep state, the central banks. You're going to increase your value because it's going up. I don't think you can stop what's coming. And this is the people's money. So you're getting rid of that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. If this is what it is,
it's still at the beginning.
I need to research that more, understand.
Apparently it's 1%. 1% of our world is on it right now. You've got guys like.
So it could go to $1 million, as they say.
$1 million in 5 years is what some hedge fund guys, Raoul something.
So you got 70,000 US now. You could have it goes up 10 times. You got 700,000.
Yeah, and so it doesn't matter. And you can buy. You don't just buy one of them. You can buy Satoshis, which is eight digits to the right side of the decimal.
Oh, so there's lots of.
So you can have 100,000 Satoshis.
You can buy an ice cream cone with
that. Now you can buy a lot, and it's going to go up and up and up. So they have a good idea that maybe by April it'll be $100,000 and by October $300,000, and most likely it'll drop back down at some point. But then on the upswing again, once it reaches a certain amount, it's going to go up, and within 5 years possibly $1 million. So it's a good way to give it to the central bank. So
no, I'm all for that. I realize that is part of the control structure that needs to be taken down. And what he was talking about, gold
and silver
destroy the Fed.
They've been suppressing the price for so long, and they need it. So and I think that was one reason why Elon Musk, we don't need to talk about him. I'm not quite sure if I trust him or not.
I've never been able to figure him out.
Yeah, he's tough. I think maybe he's been on the dark side, and he's gonna try to.
He's been on the inside. I think he knows what's going on, but maybe he knows.
That was one reason why he jumped on Bitcoin. He put $1.5 billion into Bitcoin, and then that 1.5 has already made him $50 million just because he brought the price up by doing that. So that's pretty amazing. And now a lot of other corporations. So you're still in on it soon. You're before a lot of people. So and you can stack, just keep putting a little bit in. And I think it's the way to go. So I'm doing that. And
silver has doubled in a year, it looks like.
I know it hasn't. Well, actually, no, it did. You're right. It was at 13 US in April of last year, and now it's close to 30.
Yeah.
I bought it at that higher end, and it seems to be hovering. So in Canadian, I think I got it at 36, and then
it's not as high as it's ever been either.
No,
like 10 years ago,
50,
when the two brothers did the run on it there and got suppressed. And
it's being done. And now we see our numbers, and I think we actually are starting to squeeze them. People say don't stop, keep doing it, keep while it's low, and so I'm pretty diverse right now, so I feel pretty good. So
I like you can tell me what you're doing. I like what you're doing. It's kind of like, I need to find a time to do it, or just need to commit to doing it. It's just that commitment.
And it's not too late. A lot of people wonder. And so I've been doing a lot of research, and there's a lot of great videos out there, people that have been onto it for a long time. I recommend people watch the rise of Bitcoin, because it really shows the people that have been pushing it, working on it since the beginning. And I'm so grateful for those people.
So there's some kids that are like 13 years old that bought like $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, and now are worth like $2 million.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So that's
it's still possible.
It's good to see new money.
And with silver, and I don't think that. I just believe that we all should be abundant. I believe that we have the right to be wealthy, and I believe that transfer of wealth should come back to the people. And I do believe that that's about to happen. And I do believe that there's a lot of good things.
Because things have been stolen from us. I think we haven't been given full disclosure. And whenever these agendas have been pushed on us, they say there's this thing that they have to tell us what they're doing to us. So they tell us cryptically through symbols, through popular culture, through media, through Hollywood, and they're not telling us directly what they're doing. So it's just a way of cheating us. And I think we've been cheated so much, and we're owed so much. Not that I expect to have $1 million check for me the next day here, but in the sense that to be free of those agendas, to live free as a human being, to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And we haven't been able to do that.
It's been illegal that they've been taxing the fruits of your labor.
Exactly, so I believe that too.
We should be getting free energy as well.
Yes.
Weren't things supposed to get easier as technology got more advanced, and yet it's been more difficult?
Yep.
But I do believe we're about to see that the golden age is here, so I'm excited, and I do believe that we're not going to have to work as hard, which I already took on that a couple of years ago. I decided
you can work as hard as you want if you enjoy working hard. You have the physical ability and the mental and the physical health to do that, and that's what gives you joy. That's what work in the Bible talks about. We were created to work in the garden. Yes.
Well, you certainly are deplorable, aren't you?
Yes. I love it.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure. We should probably wrap this up. I'm gonna go jump in the ocean right here. And
it looks pretty warm.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to do that. Jamaica. COVID hasn't allowed us to get down there.
We're gonna be there again soon, I hope. Especially when we become multimillionaires with our silver and crypto. We just have to be patient, like you said.
Yes.
But it's been a pleasure. Thanks for coming on. My 12 followers should enjoy this, and then next year I think my followership should probably grow the same rate which crypto goes. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure. I think that people should have more conversations about what's going on. This is what they're trying to stop us from doing, is having conversations. But they always recommend that you have these discussions around the table, and I always really enjoy it when people are willing to talk about it, not be afraid, or shut down when they've been faced with something that they haven't really, goes against their core beliefs. So
there's a time coming when we will no longer be afraid. The only people that'll be afraid are those people that have done to us unknowingly. A lot of us don't understand what they've been doing to us. But when we all understand, those people will be the only ones that are afraid. It won't be us.
Right on. Well, we'll leave it with that. The good news is coming. It's said in the next few months, they've got a lot to share. So thanks a lot,
Cheers.
Badger.
Yep. Look forward to
keep in touch. Yeah, right on. We'll have you back for sure. Ciao, everybody. Thanks for listening. Choo. Right on. Let's see, that goes by pretty fast.
So was that, you have to upload it,
Yeah, it'll, once I say done, it'll put it into a